very extra. Like he lied. Everybody know he lied. But they be good lies though.
They do be good lies.
They
Like
be like
what?
great
The Tupac
lies.
picture.
That was one of the best lies ever.
Pros of the industry is there's a lot of snakes in it. Game was a snake that won.
From bragging that he penned 50 Cent What Up Gangsta, to posting a fake photo with Tupac, and even daring to throw shade at Dr. Dre, the very man who gave him his shot. It all started with one of his boldest claims yet, saying he helped write part of What Up Gangsta. Like, really? You photoshopped yourself into Pac's legacy, dropped a picture like you were there, when everyone knows it's Pac. But it's not you. If you know hip-hop history, you understand how crazy that sounds. That record wasn't just another track. It was the opening shot on Get Rich or Die Trying, the album that turned 50 into a living legend. That song set the tone for his whole takeover, made him feel untouchable, bulletproof in the game. So to claim you had a hand in that moment, you better be ready to drop real receipts, because without proof, it sounds like pure fantasy. When 50 got asked about it,
Yes.
You heard him say Kanye did more for me in the last 2 weeks than Dr. Dre did my entire career.
he didn't just deny it, he laughed. The whole vibe was like, are you kidding me? For him, that track was all him, his pen, his grit, his baby from the ground up, and Tony, who sat right there in the studio, made it even sharper. You didn't write a thing. Cold, blunt, and straight to the point. But here's why it matters. Because according to 50, Game's entire rise only happened through him. Think about it. What Up Gangsta? 50 says, I wrote that. Game didn't. The documentary? Dre picked the beats. 50 laid the hooks, and G-Unit sprinkled the features everywhere. Even songs fans swear are Game's, like Hate It or Love It and How We Do, were 50's records first. Dre's a 50's pen, and G-Unit's cosign gave Game the credibility that put him on the map. So when Game tries flipping history, acting like he shaped 50's work or didn't need that cosign, it feels like flat-out disrespect, especially toward legends like 50 and Dre, who guard their legacies hard. That's why those claims cut so deep. It wasn't just fans rolling their eyes. It was the actual architects of his come-up shutting him down in public. And once people saw that, the doubt started creeping in. It is bending the truth here. What else is he twisting? Which leads straight into one of the wildest, most infamous parts of his story, the night he got shot. For years, Games told the tale of being ambushed inside his own home. But depending on which version you hear, it feels less like memory and more like a Hollywood script. The story most people know goes like,
Yeah, I'm like, come on, bro. He wasn't even around. Like, that was before you even came into the picture. Like, that's Get Rich or Die Trying. He didn't even
Coming to after that.
Yeah, we didn't even know.
Back in 2001, Game was ambushed, shot multiple times, slipped into a coma, and then woke up determined to chase rap. On the surface, it's a perfect redemption arc. The streets nearly take you out, but music pulls you back. The problem? The details never stay consistent. Sometimes he says it was 5 bullets. Other times it's 7. One version has him bleeding out alone for hours. Another says his brother rushed in immediately. Even the coma itself keeps changing. 3 days in one retelling, weeks in another. And while no one doubts that he was actually shot, hospital records confirm it. When the story keeps shifting, it starts feeling less like truth and more like theater. Fans picked up on the contradictions fast. The more he repeated the tale, the shakier it got. Take his lyric. I woke up out the coma, 2001. Sounds powerful, until you realize Dr. Dre's 2001 album actually dropped in 1999. The timeline doesn't line up at all. And when your entire image is built on authenticity,
Did have were was music that I made with her, not within How We Do, Hate It and Love It, Church for Thugs, Special, Higher, West Side Story.
slip-ups like that aren't just mistakes. They're cracks that everyone notices. Even Joe Budden couldn't resist clowning the situation, cracking jokes about how Game's story seemed to magically change every single time he told it. To critics, it was never about questioning whether the shooting actually happened. It was about him exaggerating, trying to line himself up with 50 Cent's legendary 9-shot survival story. And that's a bigger issue. When your personal trauma becomes your brand, every inconsistency makes people doubt everything else you've ever claimed. By this point, Game already had 2 strikes against him. First, inflating his role in 50's rise. Second, stretching the truth on his own near-death tale. But what came next? That's the moment that really blew the roof off. Because instead of playing it safe, he aimed at the very man who built his entire career, Dr. Dre. And you'd think after all that backlash, he would tread carefully. Nope. Game doubled down with one of his boldest takes ever, comparing Dre to Kanye West. He straight up said, "It's crazy that you did more for me in the last 2 weeks than Dre did for me my whole career." For fans and insiders, that wasn't just a hot headline. It was betrayal, pure disrespect. Because love him or hate him, one thing is undeniable. Dr. Dre was the architect of Game's career from day one. Dre was the one who signed him to Aftermath in 2003.
Because it's that Ye did more for me in the last 2 weeks than Dre did for me my whole career. And it's not.
Dre was the one who gave him production guidance. And most importantly, Dre was the one who positioned him for shine that guaranteed success. Alongside Jimmy Iovine, Dre didn't just sign Game. He strategically placed him with 50 and G Unit, handing him mainstream visibility on a silver platter. The results speak louder than words. The documentary went 5 times platinum, grabbed Grammy nods, and cemented Game with a permanent seat in hip-hop history. And let's be clear.
Time Dre dropped 2001. Game lyric, right?
Yeah, that was the lyric.
Are you about to tell me
Wait.
that 2001 didn't come out in 2001?
Came out in 99.
None of that happens without Dre's blueprint and cosign. That's why the backlash was instant and brutal. Tony Yayo wasted no time setting the record straight. You have a career because of Dr. Even Dre himself once reminded Game, "What am I without a Dre track?" Those words hit different when you realize how much he owed to the man. So when Game flipped the script and acted like Dre didn't matter, fans and peers saw it as the ultimate disrespect. To Yayo and plenty of fans, Game's words weren't just reckless, they were flat-out ungrateful. So why even throw that shot? Most point right to the 2022 Super Bowl halftime show. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, Kendrick, and even 50 hit the stage for a legendary West Coast moment. But Game? Left out. At first, he brushed it off. Later, he admitted the snub cut deep. That whole Kanye did more for me line sounded less like truth and more like pain spilling out. But by then, the damage was locked in. Even when he tried to clean it up, blaming alcohol and calling Dre a blessing, the stain stuck. In hip-hop, once you throw dirt on a legend, especially your mentor, those words never fade. To fans, it was just another crack in his armor. First 50, then the shaky shooting story, now Dre. Piece by piece, the survivor image was crumbling into someone rewriting history. And then came the Tupac mess. Trying to keep his West Coast stamp alive, Game leaned heavy on Pac's legacy. Suddenly, a Photoshop pic of him with Tupac started making the rounds. At first, some thought it was a rare gem. But the internet's eyes are ruthless. Shadows off, chains copied, proportions twisted. Within hours, it was exposed as fake. What was meant as a tribute turned into comedy. Blogs roasted it. Fans called him out for forcing a bond. Even Pac loyalists felt insulted. One fan summed it up. If Pac was alive, he wouldn't need Photoshop. Instead of solidifying his place in West Coast history, Game looked desperate. The timing couldn't have been worse. Right after the Dre fallout, his credibility was already shaky. That Photoshop stunt only made the doubts louder. But here's the twist. Not every move was about capping or beef. Some were just survival, chasing relevance in a cutthroat game. That chase pulled him out of Dre's shadow, past Pac's ghost, and straight into the orbit of 2 heavyweights, Kendrick Lamar and Eminem. And with Game, feuds aren't side notes, they define his whole career. At first, things looked solid with Kendrick. On Black Boy Fly, Kendrick showed him respect, and Game once returned it, even standing by as Snoop symbolically passed the torch. They worked together, rocked shows, and for a minute, Game looked like the perfect bridge between eras. But respect never seemed enough. Soon, whispers spread that he was downplaying Kendrick's skills. Whether from envy, competition, or just hunger for the spotlight, the pattern was clear. And the same thing played out with Eminem. At first, Game praised him endlessly, calling him the only rapper nobody wants smoke with, even admitting, "I used to think Eminem was better than me." But years later, that tone flipped. Suddenly, he was downplaying M's relevance, challenging him to a battle, and tossing weak disses that felt more like clout chasing than real beef. That flip from admiration to rivalry defined his story with both Kendrick and M. During Kendrick's war with Drake, Game sided with Drake, calling him his brother, and skipped Kendrick's West Coast Unity show entirely. Then when Kendrick joined Dre, Snoop, and Eminem at the 2022 Super Bowl halftime show, Game was snubbed again. He admitted it stung, even calling Kendrick a safe pick. And his diss at Eminem? Supposed to shake the culture. Instead, M barely blinked, brushing it off on IG Live while fans laughed, saying Game was forcing drama. Not. He not. His not. Hey, challenge it. Game. You don't want to go versus against. Yes, I do. What do you mean? Yeah, I do. That moment summed it up. The Game wasn't just battling rappers. He was battling himself. More and more people started pointing out the same pattern. Show love, twist it into rivalry, stir chaos to stay in the conversation. Sometimes it landed. Sometimes it flopped. But it always looked like desperation for relevance. Then came the real stain. Rapper Spa put him on blast, claiming he paid Game for a feature that never came. A fan doubled down. Bro is charging $4,000 for a verse. This is down bad. Suddenly, the proud Compton hero looked less like a cultural force and more like a hustler scrambling to survive. To some, it was business. To others, it screamed desperation. Either way, the gap between his glory days and his grind now only grew wider. And if credibility issues and loyalty drama weren't already enough, another ghost from his past resurfaced, the name-dropping habit he once swore he didn't need. At first, shouting out Dre, 50, M, and Pac felt like respect. But over time, it turned into a punchline. Fans roasted him. Memes exploded. And instead of standing as his own legend, Game looked like he leaned on bigger names just to stay relevant. That's where the energy shifted. People stopped asking who he inspired and started asking whose shadow he lived in. The homage became habit. The nod became narrative. And every inconsistency fueled the fire. From Dre to 50, from Pac to Eminem, each story blurred the line between respect and embellishment. Fans couldn't help but wonder, was Game keeping it real or just rewriting the script over and over again? And that's the heart of it all, his legacy. The Game is both undeniable talent and walking contradiction. Skill, storytelling, chaos, and controversy all wrapped into one. A career where fact and myth constantly collide, keeping fans debating what's real and what's performance. So what do you think? Is the Game a true hip-hop legend, or just a master at rewriting his own story? Drop your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. This debate is far from over.